let's just give this a little quick wrap up here, because in our planning, TikTok was not our friend. So we had everything. Well, I didn't have it set up. I don't do the
TikTok requires you to go live so many times before you can add special features. And I thought I had all that set up, ready to go. But obviously I was wrong.
So, but I'm bummed. We had to improvise. So I feel completely exposed because I don't have my cell phone on my person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. I feel very just like going with the flow. And I do have, like, we have it set up in our basement, which is what we call the podcast studio.
Jay said he's been there once or twice.
Oh, well, TikTok is not my friend when it comes to anything that I try to do. But long story short, hello and welcome.
That better?
Oh, yeah, that's better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I struggle with seeing things. So anyways, we're kind of improv tonight, halfway sort of, because normally what we do is a podcast version of things. And I guess we're going to start kind of all the way at the back. I like at the front.
First off, can everyone hear us?
Yeah.
Please let us know in the chat if you can hear us.
I mean, we could just be talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
We've done that.
Who is that? Jay Uso. Jay Uso says can hear us. Good.
Awesome. Thank you. So I guess we'll kind of rewind. So I'm Lacey, and
I'm Nick.
And we are married, obviously. Maybe that's not. I don't know. So we have a podcast that is, I guess you would call it, investigative true crime. I'm a private investigator in the state of Indiana. Oh, nice to meet you as well. So I guess I'll give my little blurb and then I'll pass it over to you. So the majority of people, what they say when they interact with us is that the interaction with us, like between us, they always say we're kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe what people say, and I don't want to like put words in other people's mouths. But so we created the podcast. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice with concentration on forensic psychology, and I'm currently in law school at Texas A&M. So we have that we put into our podcast where we cover cases, and people kept telling us, which it's kind of the standard. We do have 2 kids, and constantly we get, our family, friends, questions about cases. They want to know our perspective on things. So we kind of thought this would be a really good way. The way the Casewalker Chronicles covers a case is a little bit different. We do all record based as far as like the docket goes. So we go by public record. And if you haven't listened to the podcast, you need to obviously start at episode 1 and listen through. But this is kind of a short snippet version of that. So we're kind of covering more recent things as far as like what's kind of going on in the news. But people want to hear our version of it, our family and friends. Maybe you guys can disagree with that eventually. You'll have to let us know. But we kind of just wanted to give our spin on things because, like, our kids, like, we have a daughter in college, and she was recently home for the 4th of July. And she always has questions. And we try to answer those, and we may have a different view and parenting style, obviously. So we kind of wanted to put that out there. Because people have always said we went to CrimeCon in Vegas this year, and the feedback we got from people was they loved the vibe. So we wanted to give it more frequently than we could in my what we get for our podcast is very in-depth. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. And so we wanted to be able to push this out quicker and interact with people more. So that was a long introduction. And I hope some people got the gist of what I bring to the table. And now I'm gonna pass it to Nick because I feel like I talk a lot.
Oh, is this my introduction?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
Tag, you're it.
I am Nick, obviously the worst half of this couple.
That's not true.
I am very technical when it comes to looking into these investigations as far as an investigative standpoint, from a law enforcement standpoint, and from an actual investigator standpoint. I was formerly an 1811 credentialed agent with Air Force Office of Special Investigations. I was stationed, doing that job, I was stationed in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I was a case agent, lead case agent on everything from, murder, suicide, sexual assault, rape, drug cases, fraud cases. Also worked in counterintelligence with OSI. Yes, SVU.
Yes. Dun, dun.
So when I got into OSI, the Air Force had switched sexual assault investigations over to OSI from security force investigators. So we did it all. We did homicide, narcotics, sexual assault.
A jack of all trades.
Yeah, we did fraud. We had to learn all of that. Our training consisted of months at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center with DHS, and we went through a basic special investigator training course as well as a criminal investigator training course that was on the federal level. But yeah, that was my dream job in the Air Force. Unfortunately, I was sent to Grand Forks, North Dakota, where we didn't have a whole lot going on. Also, it was cold, and I didn't want to stay there another 4 years, so we decided to...
Let's just say what really happened. I decided that I couldn't find a job.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was like, all right, peace out, home skillet. I'm headed back to where we live, Indiana. So I kind of left him because I was like, nope, North Dakota's not for me. So yeah, keep going. That was the blunt version.
Yeah.
He tries to be kind.
I try to, but it was one of those decisions we both made, and we decided that we were going to do things on our own, do our own thing. We wind up working for a school corporation for a long time. Didn't care for it, even though we did it because it paid the bills. And now we've moved on to where we're at now.
Oh,
yeah.
Minnesota.
Texas is where we need to go. But we decided we had a 5-year plan about 3 years ago.
I was going to go back even further than that, but go ahead. You can use that version. That makes
it's
sound
a short
better.
and sweet version.
Okay.
We had a 5-year plan 3 years ago that we were our son was gonna graduate high school. We already have a daughter that's in college. She's getting ready to graduate college. We were gonna.
It's a journey.
Set out to be investigators and find missing people, open our own private investigation business, and do that for a living, something that we enjoy doing. And we kind of sped up that 5-year plan due to circumstances that were not really in our control, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We left our jobs voluntarily because we felt we were at a position, okay, it's do or die. Let's do this.
Well, there was a lot going on.
We're not gonna. Yeah.
I don't know. No, I was laughing at that. I'm not gonna go into it, but I mean, like with like I was finishing school, so we graduated high school in 2006.
Yes, we were both 38 years old, and
ooh, that sounds very long ago.
Yeah,
but
well, we're old,
so we were actually teen parents as well. So I finally, in January of 2026, graduated with my bachelor's. So I have a 20-year bachelor's degree. It took me a hot minute to get that, and that's awesome, Jay. Like I really can't say enough about people that put education, like their education, as a pillar of something that they're really willing to work towards, because that's what I felt like. I mean, no, it was not 20 years consecutively. Like we lived overseas, we raised children, like all the things, right? It wasn't just, I was a very slow learner. No, that wasn't the case. I would every time we moved to another country, I had to get a different university. So it was kind of like, I don't feel like this was ever going to happen, but it did. I did graduate finally. And then pretty quickly after that, I applied for my master's. And that's what I'm working on right now. I started that in May. So I do my master's online. I was accepted into the School of Law with Texas A&M. So I spend all of that was happening while we were working full time and we were doing the podcast and running the PI firm and all the things. So it became a point where it was like we were up all hours of the night and then going back to work the next day. It's a very hard process. And like I said, that's where we kind of got to the point where we were like, we had to choose what we were wanting to do. And this was always the direction we thought we were going to go. So we had to kind of just say, okay, well, we're going to head out now. So
we had to try it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's sink or swim. And that's kind of like where we are. As far as hiring, I wish that I could hire all the people that have asked, are we hiring? To be honest, I don't even pay my husband, like who, is the main investigator, so to speak. I don't want to say main investigator. That sounds bad. I do a lot of the paperwork. And when I say paperwork, I mean, I'm the one that's pulling the public record requests, and we're going to go into all of that. Our hope is that this is a public front. There's some great creators, but I feel like there's this huge gap. You're either trying to sell people things or you're too legal and too crime. And we're kind of trying to mesh them all together to where it's public friendly, if that makes any sense. Yes, I agree. And I feel like we have always had the same goal. It just changed and evolved. And here we are. We thought we're hoping to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday weekly. It's supposed to be quick. It's supposed to be, in theory, it's like a news dump. I don't watch the news.
We don't watch the traditional news.
Traditional news. Correct. We don't feel that that's our area. So we do a lot of research, a lot of digging. And so that's what's time consuming. And so that's kind of what led to the podcast. We give a very in-depth breakdown of some of the cases, and it's not the standard true crime podcast. So this is more of our public facing, hi, we really are people, we're friendly. And so you get to kind of interact with us a little bit more. So, I mean, we are all for questions. I want people to ask questions, sharing, getting the name out there, because I really would like to help people understand more, because I think we understand things from our perspective, and there's definitely a gap.
Big gap. Yeah.
That was, our last episode of season 1. That was what we called it. But anyway, sorry, Tag, you're back yet. I'm really going to follow. This is why you will see me refer to my paper, because I am a talker. And we actually have it in paper format because I'm old school, and we have it in digital. And like I said, Nick worked really hard getting all of this set up, and then TikTok was like, no, we're not doing it that way. So we're improvising. We're usually
this is going to be a basic setup stream.
Yes.
Our first several streams will be really basic. We're not going to be able to elaborate a whole lot as far as showing
I'm kind of bummed about that.
Showing documents.
We may have to circle that. We're going to do a wraparound and come back to that maybe.
But showing documents, all that kind of stuff. I have an easier setup that we can do where I can actually use my computer. Everything right now is being filmed from a phone. I will have a setup eventually where we're each on 2 different cameras. So that, it looks like we're talking to each other, even though you obviously can see
we literally
we're
are
talking to each other. We're sitting next to each other. But to be able to run stuff through the computer that throws onto TikTok, because we know eventually we're going to get a lot of interest in wanting to see certain documents, things like that, wanting to see certain web pages where you can find out information. And that's our whole goal. Our goal is to spread information that's from the record.
And with that, because it ties in directly to your comment, Jay, with confidentiality in regards to like the private investigation side of things for me, I do have a code of ethics and professionalism that I have to adhere to. However, in regard to most of what we will discuss, it is general in nature or publicly sourced. And when I say publicly sourced, I want you to understand that it's readily or easily available to any person that can access it. So that's where a lot of things, I don't like to give, in our podcast, you'll see, I don't like to give our theory because I feel like that's too much of what everything is. You turn on the news at night, it is someone's theory. Narrative is the word that comes up often. I don't like to use that word, but it will come up a little bit. But like tonight, I'm kind of bummed that we don't have all the stuff because we are going to talk about, which if you saw our little social that we put up, we are going to talk about flock cameras. And how we are going to kind of segue that is Nick he has a fitness brand, and that's the other side of our basement, is all fitness. That is our home gym, and he goes live every day, and he's actually I'm not telling your whole story. So
what? Goals is a brand that I created. It is a fitness brand. It is a mentality brand. It is a motivation, inspiration brand. Goals stands for get out and lift shit. So that being said, we had a comment about a shirt that I was wearing during one of our workouts.
I think it was last week.
And I got the shirt from a company who it wasn't a sponsorship or anything like that. We just showed up. We wanted to get a vinyl wrap for our boat, and they weren't able to do it because they only do fleet vehicles, but they referred us to somebody who could. They had merch and shirts they wanted to give us, and one of their shirts, their design says "Don't drive naked."
Ba-dum-bum.
So the "Don't drive naked" got a comment, and that comment led to,
"Hi, that's mine." Can you like make that bigger for just a smidgen? So
if you
I do have to. I am going to back up, and I'm going to have you scroll down because I do have to read my disclaimer because I want the other way,
far?
babe. Like, yeah, from the beginning.
Oh,
thank you.
Sorry.
Disclaimer. Say this verbatim. So, a quick disclaimer before we get into it. Everything you hear tonight is our commentary and our own opinions. This is not legal advice, and this is not an active investigation. We are two people with backgrounds that give us a different lens on this stuff that we're going to discuss. We are not experts, not authorities, and we, want you to take it for what it is. So don't be coming after me because I gave you my disclaimer, okay? So go ahead, and now we're going to resume your regularly scheduled broadcast. And
we're going to talk about this, right?
Yes,
okay.
that is where we are going. So, but we're actually there's a lot. So last week he was doing his workouts online. One of our friends had made a comment, and it tied into it's coming. It's full circle. Okay, are we ready? This is what we do. Is the Casewalker Chronicles. Okay, so we had a friend that said, "Hey, can I drive naked?" And then that opened up a legal conversation because I am in law school. And so we were talking about your Fourth Amendment. And then we discussed that in school. And then our daughter came home for the 4th of July. And she brings up a whole nother piece that's going to put it all together. So the tease line for tonight was a South Carolina town where someone cut down 2 surveillance cameras. An update on the Nancy Guthrie case. We are going to also talk about Paul Pelosi's hit and run and a 50-year-old cold case that finally got an answer. So hopefully in the longest probable way that we can probably end up doing this because we're long-winded, we're going to try to cover all of those. And it's going to make sense. Yeah, probably, I would say. So we had this legal question that was kind of brewing when it came to, what's the harm in driving naked, right? And again, the hardest thing with law, and again, I'm not giving you legal advice. I am only telling you what I have learned as someone in school. And I'm
human indecent. So about that, Jay, technically, no, you cannot get cited, fined, arrested, or any of that. It is not against the law to be naked in your vehicle. Now, can a prosecutor potentially try a case where someone's been arrested for being naked in their vehicle? Yes, it is very possible.
Now, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop you there because, so here's the thing, okay? This is a case we're going to refer to this as case law, okay? And case law for this specific thing, we're going to call Katz v. United States. And this one, I believe it says, let me look at my note because I want to get the year right. It was 1967. So let's rewind in our mind a little bit back to 1967. There were no cell phones. So if you think about it, to explain this case, if you think about 1967, what was still out in the public? If we didn't have cell phones, what did we have?
We had payphones.
Phone booths, right? So we had phone booths, okay? So there was the man, Charles Katz. He was actually transmitting illegal gambling information from a public telephone, okay, from the booth. And the FBI agents actually attached a recording device to the outside of the booth. Now, typically, which if you followed any of Casewalker Chronicles or my PI firm, I am giving some of these snippets in regards to some of the case law and some of the specifics, the more specifics. So basically, the standard of law at that time was that you didn't need a warrant because you were never entering that expectation of privacy area.
Right.
So in that situation, because he was out in the public, he had no expectation of privacy. However, when we think about the old school phone book or telephone booth, what did you have to do? You had to open the door
and close it.
You had to go in and you closed the door.
Which gave you an expectation
of privacy. So that was where it kind of spun into the car situation, right? So in your car, you close the door when you get in, right? And you're driving down and you're like, okay, well, I'm in my personal vehicle. I can make a phone call. However, there is a case currently
being litigated
because this individual had his Bluetooth volume up so loud in his vehicle that law enforcement could hear what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this whole litigation's kind of coming from, right. Modern day today. That we're not actually talking about that case tonight. We could always do that. But right. So that's kind of where you get that interesting piece of it. Again, if you're really wanting to go down a rabbit hole when it comes to case law, Katz was very interesting. My professor did a fantastic job of explaining it. She did a much better job than I did. I apologize if I butchered it. I'm trying to keep this short, sweet, and to kind of tie this back to the flock cameras, which I'm telling you, it's all connected. This is how our brains work. Our poor children, this is why they can't ever get like quick answers from us. Yeah. We sit down with them.
We analyze everything.
And long story short, our daughter says, so we're eating at the table, and she was like, hey, so flock cameras. Do we have those around here?
Yes. They are everywhere.
She probably, in her defense, she probably didn't think in her head, oh my gosh, this is going to lead to whatever it's going to lead to. But what's so upsetting about this live not working the way we were going to have it work. I was going to show you guys a map. So there is a map that you can look at, and it will show you. You can search addresses, locations, and things, and it'll show you where the flock cameras are located.
Actually, keep talking, and I want you to get from the chat some, say a city.
Okay, so anyone in the chat, if you've shared, if you've liked, if you've added us as a follow, any of those things, and you're willing to make a comment and tell us, give us any random city, we're going to see if we can try to make this work, potentially. Any city in the United States that you would be interested in seeing whether there was a flock camera. And while we wait for that, so Terre Haute, Indiana. Okay, that one's going to probably good. I actually looked at Indiana today for a couple of these. I didn't look at Terre Haute, but the story that I was supposed to be telling you, the news story, the whole point, it was over the weekend, there were 2 flock cameras that were cut in Pageland, South Carolina. And that is where we're kind of at, because nationwide, flock cameras are actually owned by a private organization. And there's 30 cities and towns that have deactivated or canceled their contracts since the start of 2025 because of some of these privacy things that are in court. So anyone... Oh, I did not know that, but that's one of those cool facts. See, that's what we're trying to get out. We want people to kind of know some of this stuff. So, Jay, that's interesting. I mean, I'm going to have to look into that, because that's where you've probably introduced like a rabbit hole for me. I don't sleep anyway, so. On a school computer. Oh, you know. So
I know I saved that.
He saved it. We're roundabout way here trying to do this, because we were gonna like live it while we were showing it, but for purposes, there you go. I think you could potentially see this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because you see what I see. So this is a one of this one's deflock. So you can literally pull this up and search anywhere, and it's gonna show you where those flock cameras are, which I thought was interesting. If you've never actually seen like what they look like, it might be fun for you to do kind of what we do. Date night, we go do some, I mean, you know, like I would say, hey, babe, we're going to go down here and we're going to see if we can see what this flock camera looks like. Just because then like when you think about that story, that took some effort to cut that down. Like, and I get it. People are upset about privacy, and we live in such a very interesting time right now with social media, because we're willingly, for the most part, willing to give up a lot of our privacy, but it's only on our terms. So that's where that flock camera case, yep. Anything, you know, we've got public roadways, like we've got, you know, like we think about Chicago, they have like one of the most heavily like camera wise, they've got
Chicago's crazy.
They've got so many cameras in that city.
Indianapolis is crazy.
It's and so that kind of is one of those things that interest us, because we do a lot of research when it comes to like missing people, and so it's fascinating to me that we can have people go missing when we've literally got, like, we can show you some of those maps. Like if you look at that, you know, the flock cameras is like, there's cameras all over the world. Like how do these people just vanish? But that was kind of the whole point of the flock cameras. It's AI interactive or based, and the whole purpose is they're supposed to be license plate readers. So the whole kind of process,
they do so much more than that.
I know. But that was what they were being like sold to these law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
They're like, hey,
no, that's what they sold it to your politicians.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, we're gonna set these cameras up. We're gonna give you grants, and you know, we're gonna install these cameras, and then people started kind of realizing it's like those places where, you know, this hasn't happened. I should knock on wood. But, you know, like you're driving and they say radar enforced, and then you get that speeding ticket in the mail.
In the mail, yeah.
And it's like, I didn't even see a police officer, but.
Yeah. Which, I mean, okay, you really can, coming from our criminal justice background, you can channel that down to community policing when it comes down to it. It is actually trying to be proactive. Am I for flock cameras? Absolutely not. However,
I like to watch cameras.
Of course.
I don't want people watching me.
What we have to understand is we evolve as a community and we change our culture. Law enforcement has to do the same. So, you know, when there is a decline in those who want to join law enforcement, and there is a different view of how people view law enforcement, because it used to be back in the day, you know, in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
The bobbies.
Not that long ago. But no, it got to where, you know, you could call up your, you know, law enforcement officer and they were good people. They always were. And I'm not saying that law enforcement are bad.
Well, it was deterrence for a lot of it was deterrence
and for a long time it was just deterrence, and then they got around to some psychology on it and said, okay, community policing is what is working. So they got into community policing. But now the community policing, they're adding more technology, and those technologies can seem invasive. But if you're not breaking the law, it's not invasive, you know. But I do get it. Like I said, I'm not for or against the flock cameras. It's one of those things where you're going to pick a side, plain and simple. It's just like the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case.
I specifically didn't go down that one.
You're going to pick a side, and you're going to pick what is favorable to you. It's all about your bias. But that's enough rant from me on flock cameras. As far as
the whole point of that was to kind of get people to understand, in a way, there was when it came to interpreting Katz into that, the case law for that, there was Justice Harlan had a 2-part test, and it's still used today. So the first question, does the person have a subjective expectation of privacy? So that's the first question that you would ask. And then the second part of that question, is it once in your society, do they recognize that as being reasonable? So, like, if we put that in context with driving naked, okay, do you think that person should have a reasonable expectation of privacy within their own car, even though they're in a public area? If the answer to that is yes, then you go to the second question. And the second question was, does society agree? Does society think that's a reasonable assumption? So that was kind of where that case law came into play with that. And so if we think about flock cameras with that, does the driver have that?
Run flock cameras through the Katz test.
Yep. And go ahead. You can, let's see.
It's the same 2-part test. Does a driver have a subjective expectation of privacy in where they drive on public roads? Probably not much. No. But, you know, it's 30 days of aggregated location history every time you pass the camera mapped out. Something society recognizes as reasonable to keep private. That's the actual fight. So that's what it's looking at. If you're driving on the first question is, do you have privacy driving on a public road?
I'm personally going to say no. I don't think
you don't.
I don't think you do. Because, I mean, yes, it's my car. Like, I don't want people in my car. That's my car. But
do you?
I'm in the public. Like, if I'm driving out on the farm.
No, you don't have privacy.
That's my private area.
But on a public road where these cameras are located.
I don't think that's
There
private.
have been some cameras that have shown to be looking in people's backyards, things like that. That is all alleged.
Allegedly.
None of that is really verified.
We can only say allegedly here.
We have not verified that.
I'm not.
But
I'm not going down that slippery slope.
But now we look at it in the second part of that test, which is, okay, it's collecting data of your license plate driving down the same road at generally the same time, Monday through Friday, because it just so happens to be on the road that you drive by every day to go to work, because we commute to work.
But
now, does that trigger the Fourth Amendment for a law enforcement agency to now have that data known or accessible?
I think accessible.
But now
is the
let's run this one more test, because this is where we don't think. A lot of people stop thinking right there, and it's like, oh, well, no, I have privacy to that. You shouldn't know that. Well, get over it, because a cop can sit out there for 30 days straight and sit there and watch you do it. And you don't have any reasonable expectation of privacy for that cop to sit out on a public road and watch you drive by every day around the same time. And if they put that in a report, guess what? That's part of their investigative report that they found, and it will be upheld in court. You have no reasonable expectation of privacy driving on a public road if a law enforcement officer is there to document it every single day, 5 days a week, whatever it may be. So there. That's why there's such a problem, because they're using the flock cameras as an agency.
Right, but I think that's what people, okay, so it's like when you're driving down the road, for the most part, you can see a cop car sitting there, right? So you see that and you're like, okay, there's a cop car. I think.
So what do? Hit the brakes.
Yes, most people do. But no, I think what people are kind of upset about is, in theory, the flock cameras are such a new technology. And for example, like where my daughter's like, hey, where are these? They're kind of elusive, but not. Like they're literally in plain sight.
Yeah.
But because there's really not been a lot of.
We have to be educated to know what they look like, and we have that ability. But
people don't always look into it. A lot of people want information just like handed to them, and when like if you see, like, honestly, the first time, because I was in class one time when somebody said flock cameras, and I was like. Was like a birds? Are we watching birds? Like a flock of geese? Or what?
I looked into it when I first heard about it, but it's been months ago.
It was kind of surprising to me because I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And it was still new and coming into things, and so then that was intriguing to me. But I think that's kind of where people, it's the unknown, and because we are still trying to create that bridge, I think once we have that precedent set. Then we'll have but it's the unknown, like, because it's not really been tested yet, which it's currently, but it is what it is. So kind of that I want people to kind of take that away from tonight. When it comes to that, like when you're thinking about, should this be like a privacy thing? Yeah. I mean, it's just, when you look at it, use that Katz 2-part test and think like, okay, if I'm choosing to be naked driving around in my car on a public road, do people think, does everybody agree with me that that's like acceptable, that's standard, and would someone else, is that like a private thing, and does everybody agree with that? Like, is that my privacy? And does people, like, I think if you break it down into those things, like, I don't advise anyone to drive around naked. I mean, I think men probably have an easier time doing that than females would. But I mean, to each their own. Maybe somebody could do it and then come back and be like, hey, this is what happened when we did it. Don't. I'm not advising you. Again, we are not giving you legal advice. Okay.
Regardless, is it a crime?
Depends on the state. But final answer.
What? Is it a crime? No.
But now there also is state and federal law, which there's two different forms of law, which the more you know.
I will tell you from what we have learned about case law and law in general, and the very limited knowledge that we have, anything can be fought in court and won. Anything can be fought in court.
It needs to be clear and convincing. Yeah, I agree. I think
because
you could fight for...
Honestly, you are not convincing the justice system. You are convincing...
A jury of your peers.
A jury or a judge. That's it.
Yeah, it depends. Bench or jury. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's another conversation for another
that's
day.
a whole nother...
That's a whole nother spiel.
Yep.
Like, because I don't feel like I have peers. Like, I would be... this is going to sound really bad. And
I'd be mortified to have a jury decide my fate.
Like, I think that... I mean, no offense, but it's like we look at some of the stuff that goes on, and it's like... What?
Hey, Jay, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Thanks for
Jay.
stopping in. We appreciate it.
Hope to catch us Wednesday.
Hey, user 9108,
That's
a bunch
Amy.
of numbers. Who is it?
Amy.
Oh, is it Amy? Hi, Amy.
Gosh, he's slow.
I can't see the pictures, so I don't know. But
you
hey,
don't interact with anyone on TikTok.
see
so
y'all.
that's why.
Yeah, I don't have anybody on TikTok. So
Well, we'll try to be on time for Wednesday.
yeah.
And we'll be quicker on Wednesday. And I think if we can get it to work, we'll try to push this out, maybe on YouTube or something as well, so that you can maybe do like a replay. I don't know, technology.
Yeah, I can record it and put it on YouTube.
Anywho's it. You guys have a good night.
Next segment.
Yeah.
Are we gonna close that?
Yeah, we're gonna close that. It's not. We're not gonna say whether it's constitutional or whatever, because it's litigated in court right now. It varies state by state, and I think you're gonna see some big.
There's gonna be a lot of lobbying and fighting for it and against it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes. And then this one. This is something that we have not touched on for a lot of reasons, just because I debated on whether I was going to put this in there, but we're going to cover it briefly just because it was in one of the quick hit things as far as like what happened over the weekend. Your quick updates. So the Nancy Guthrie case.
I've stayed away from this so much. Like, I have legitimately ignored every bit of anything that's online about this case.
So for people that don't know, we're just going to give a really quick the underlying disappearance kind of thing. So Nancy Guthrie is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, and she has actually been missing since January of 2026. And on July 2nd, 2026, an individual from Hawthorne, California, pleaded guilty in federal court in Arizona to 2 felony counts of harassment by telecommunications device after posing as a kidnapper and contacting the Guthrie family with ransom demands. So the key takeaway facts here was the plea agreement calls for 5 years of probation. Sentencing is scheduled for September of 2026. And the FBI has confirmed it received multiple ransom notes overall. Some were illegitimate. Some were, under investigation. And the thing I think that was most interesting about the Guthrie case and how it kind of unfolded is it had a chokehold. Probably not a good word to use, but I think of like when we think in like OJ, the OJ trial, and you could even say very similar to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case.
Yeah.
I think that this is kind of the 2026 case.
But what pisses me off is we've delved into a bunch of missing persons cases.
Yeah.
And what pisses me off, I'm sorry, I'm raw, I'm unfiltered. I'm gonna say what I want to say. That's how I've lived my whole life, and you'll find that out real quick about me. I'm pissed off that we do this in these instances where we glorify a particular missing person.
Yeah, I think that's the key takeaway for me.
And it's like, what about all these other missing people?
Yes. The information that is spread, the rapid fire that this stuff comes out. I mean, like, yes, this, as of today,
don't get me wrong, some of the memes are funny. They are.
Yeah, it is. But it's like there's a general family, there's a person at the bottom of it, you know,
there
like
is.
that's and to me, but what I don't understand is how we have so many missing people in the United States every year, and it's like and there's also some very good psychology, you know, aspects of things, but how we can, so to speak, as a society, pick and choose which case gets that kind of exposure. And
then when you do that, what I want to highlight, not to cut you off, but when you do that, how are investigators supposed to take real leads? Because you are publicizing this so much that because of the way the culture is and because of the way social media is, everyone wants to have their 15 minutes of fame. So people are willing to just make shit up to send to law enforcement, because law enforcement is not going to follow up with a bogus lead. You know,
yeah, but
they're going to find out that it's they have to vet it. Yeah, absolutely. They have to vet it. And then once they find out it's bogus, they're not going to do anything to the person that sent in the bogus lead. That's the thing, because there's too much that they have to do to begin with. So people have started to understand that, and they take advantage of it, and they hear about something and they want to be a part of it. Because
like false leads kind of thing.
Yeah, and they genuinely think they're doing the right thing, but they're not.
But this case, that's why I thought this one was so intriguing. And again, I am kind of giving you a snippet. Now, I can actually put out at some point when we get all of our ducks in a row, I can put out some links to some of this stuff if you want to, but I strongly encourage people to actually do the research, okay? Because like, for me, I thought this was interesting because this is one of those things where it's like, hey, yeah, the FBI is involved and they are taking this serious. Like, they've had so many of these people send these false, you know, hoax kind of things that they are starting to put, you know, the weight of the law behind it. And they are kind of going after some of these people. But what I thought was really interesting with the Guthrie case personally was that it was like, I mean, like Gabby Petito, it was kind of one of those things where from day one, and to me, like, Gabby was different, obviously, than, you know, Nancy Guthrie, but it's like
a narrative is produced.
But the way that society picks up on some of these things, like one of those things that's really interesting happened this weekend. It's not true crime. I was kind of debating if I was going to say something about it or not. But I kind of went down a rabbit hole this weekend too, because maybe potentially, who knows? I think there's kind of a toss up, but supposedly, allegedly, the Taylor Swift had her wedding this weekend.
No,
and what was so fascinating to me is TikTok, you know, hashtag Swiftie. TikTok went absolutely wild with people, you know, like,
she didn't really get married there.
but here's
it's all
this picture
fake.
of my toe, and this is what it thinks. This is what this means, and it's what? Like, how do people even get some of this stuff? Because
the internet's a crazy place.
It is. It really is. And it's like, I was scrolling, you know, I'm doing what the majority of people are right now. 9 to 10, yes. Everyone wants to be famous. And it was like they just kept giving this stuff out. And it was like, okay, she sung this version at 2:00 in the PM of the mountain time. And that's why this is the...
It means this.
I was like, okay, and what does this have to do with, like, a doily or a handkerchief, or like how does this even, but that's, people will grasp at anything. And I think that's where some of it really just, that blew my mind this weekend. I mean, how we choose as a society what takes off and what doesn't is interesting. And that's part of the thing for me with the Guthrie case, because TikTok went wild with it. You know, there was one creator that, like, every day, you know, he was on, I was following, and every day he'd be like, well, day 63, and where is this woman?
Yeah.
And like, there was so much content, and yet it's still one of those things, like,
and one of the,
she's still missing.
Right. And talking about that, that's another talking point of why we created Casewalker Chronicles, is because of all of the social media fluff that is out there, which there's just gobs of it. And we don't want to be that. We want to be the creators that bring you the facts of what's on the record and what can be verified. You will not hear our opinion on how we think a case.
We will give a little more of that here.
Yeah, on our
in like
live
a short
stuff,
form, because
but our podcast that we record, we do all of that. Lacey does a ton of work on the back end as far as vetting information and making sure that we're not providing information that is, you know, something that we believe. When it comes to making a determination about something, this and that, we just don't do that, because obviously the internet is full of that, and it
you can find anything you want.
Yep. If you wanted Amber Heard to win her case and you thought
you've got a whole slew of people that felt the same way.
Yep.
And the way the algorithm tracks, I mean, you're gonna find that group of people. The algorithm is gonna find it for you. So it really
go back to Clinton and Trump.
Yeah, like it doesn't do us any good.
All that we saw on our TV screens and social media feeds was Trump good, Clinton bad.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just because we liked stuff that was more Republican, I guess. You know,
I mean, and that's a big thing that I really wish people would.
Social media is totally tailored to the what
users,
you believe.
Yeah,
and it wants you to watch.
You're missing that whole other side. And oh yes, preach it. I have taken a step back. I am. Technically, I'm still... That's
Amy, right?
Yeah, I'm still kind of somewhat...
That's why our son doesn't go to public school anymore.
Yeah, he does not. He does not go anymore. He is online. There's a lot, and it's just... That's a whole nother day. I'm not going to go into that, because I know that she knows. Anyways, but there's two sides. Actually, there's more. There's more than two sides to everything, but... What our podcast really tries to do is focus in on like the fact or what's provable, and not from like, I try to pick when I'm going through. I actually try to look if there's like a court document. So in the state of Indiana, we have Indiana My Case, and if there's any kind of litigation at all, there is a public trail, and a lot of those documents are already, you know, on the docket, and you can just readily pull those. And
most of the discovery during the case is not on the docket, like the discovery documents exchanged between parties. But if there
you can get your pleadings
are motions filed,
yes.
Usually within those motions you will find
there
exhibits, and they will contain a lot of the discovery documents. So a little digging in my case goes a long way whenever you're looking for information about a case.
So that is where I do spend a good chunk of my time. And if there is something, you know, that I see on the docket and or the chronological case summary, the CCS, whichever you choose to call it, if I can't find what I'm looking for that way, that's when I will then go in and submit the public records request. And that is where a lot of times I get that information. I am not a huge fan of saying, well, it was reported on WLKY. I don't like to say that because, again, I want to be able to say, okay, well, this is what was court proven. So there's more weight in my mind for those documents. And that's kind of what we try to do with our podcast. We try to we have like a tiered system for information. And that's what we build the case through. And we actually, like with the podcast, we start at the time of whatever it was. So if it's a death investigation, we start with that and we move forward like the investigation would do. And that's how we build we build the timeline. And I like to kind of get family interaction, but at the same time I don't, because a lot of times families have their own view, and I feel like breaking that down.
But it's part of the process of understanding how the investigation went, because typically the cases that we're looking at, the investigations are over, they're done, or they're cold, they're ongoing,
and they're not getting as many current new leads or things like that. So
to get a grasp on, okay, how did this investigation unfold, and why were these steps done but not these steps, and then you start to look at a little bit of investigation and background into the family, and then things start to make sense. Oh, of course, they wanted to push towards
or this way,
way.
or that way. They're leaning a certain way, and that's what I like to say, that leaning a certain way, because when we discuss the news media, okay, so if you think about, I actually have the subscription to, I don't remember what it's called. It's newspaper something or other. It's like the microfilm from decades ago, and I will sift through newspaper, and I will go through and I look at the different writers and editors, and so if I have one, like say if we were going to do Nancy Guthrie, I would pull any and all tagline Nancy Guthrie, okay, and then I'm going to look at, okay, well, the Wall Street Journal did this, and so did this, and there was two different reporters on both. I'm going to compare them, and you can pick out the key pieces, that we spoke with state trooper, yada, yada, yada. That's the information that I will kind of pull, rather than all the filler that is built in to the articles, because that a lot of times has a lens. And so we try to remove that lens and kind of, try to just get back to the fact. And it's really hard in some cases. In some cases, we have chosen not to cover because of that. The lack of, for instance, the availability of some things. And we've done some record requests where they were denied. They say the case is still open or whatever, and I'm like, okay, well then I can only say this because I can't prove anything further without more detail. And this is one of those, where I feel like the Guthrie case was one of those where there was just so many theories and speculation that happened from the start that I think it took away from the seriousness of the case. Like, I think.
Yeah. And to kind of wrap up with the Nancy Guthrie case, again, I tried to stay away from it, but the reason being is because it was so publicized.
Yeah.
That's why I like to stay away from it, because when there's that amount of publicity on it, I can almost guarantee you there is going to be more investigation done than you can possibly imagine. Every, avenue, every avenue is going to be looked at, vetted, cross-checked, double-checked, just because they know, law enforcement knows when anything's a high profile, high public eye, they have to, buckle down, which again, another reason why it ticks me off that they make these things so blown out of proportion on, in social media and with the public is because now you're forcing the hand on a public agency to drop everything that they're doing and work on this because it has so much high profile.
Yeah.
That's what ticks me off. And another thing is, how are they supposed to separate what's real versus what's a hoax? And a lot of times that's why information is deliberately withheld from the public during those active searches.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's just the way social media, it's like a blessing and a curse, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are, literally social media. Hello.
I want to get on to this next segment because I did not know about this.
You didn't know about this?
And this is fresh.
This is fresh.
We've just had 4th of July weekend. So, I was concerned about making sure the boat was good. We were going out to the lake,
I'm so excited that you didn't
having
hear
our
this.
boat sodas. I'm still trying to figure out my business. I got all this stuff going on. Lacey's got all this stuff going on. I had no idea that this Stu Pedasso.
Hey, we are not going to say that. We're just going to say that when I was going through some things, I found this and I thought this was one of those things where it just, and then it got a little deeper. So this may be one of those like follow-up segments because
gosh.
I thought this was.
I can't. No, not when it comes to people like this.
No. So
nope.
So this one's kind of, and I again, we try, don't come after me, okay? People get on all the social medias and they say all the random things, and I'm just trying to share the news, okay? So here we go. Bum. On Friday, July 3rd, 2026, around 2:30 p.m., Paul Pelosi, 86, husband of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, struck a legally parked car in Yountville, Napa County, California. Briefly stopped, then drove away. Deputies located his disabled vehicle roughly a quarter mile down the road. He told deputies he knew that he had hit something, but he didn't know what. So, a preliminary alcohol test showed that it was 0.00, so no alcohol involved. And the Napa County Sheriff's Office referred the case to the district attorney for a misdemeanor hit-and-run charge. This is a referral for review, not a confirmed filed charge. Separately, Pelosi was referred to the DMV for a driver reevaluation, standard practice for older drivers. Pelosi has had a prior 2022 misdemeanor DUI conviction from a separate incident for which he served 2 days in jail plus 1 day in a work program. California misdemeanor hit and run, vehicle code 20002, requires a driver involved in a property damage collision to stop, locate the owner if possible, and exchange information or leave a note. Briefly stopping and then leaving without exchanging information does not satisfy the statute. So, I thought this was very interesting because for me personally, I think of Louisville, okay? So, we, for instance, Bardstown Road, I think, is one of those prime examples.
Yeah, Baxter Avenue, Bardstown Road.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. It feels like down there, that is a hot mess express with all them cars parked on the side of the road. And, I mean, I could see, like, I'm not going to say here or there or for air or whatever, but I think in my head, like, oh, now, okay, 2:30 in the afternoon. I was going to lean more towards, I was thinking, like, if it was 2:30 in the morning, that makes sense to me because I can't see. So that makes sense to me how you could hit something. But again, this was one of those things where I'm not passing judgment. I'm not even saying anything. I just thought this was interesting that I really didn't see this anywhere. Like, I'm not seeing anybody.
Age restrictions on driving.
Hey,
The dude's 86 years old.
Okay, so this kind of also ties into, for a prime example, when our daughter was home over the weekend, we were talking about some of the government positions and the age thing. So this kind of played into one of those because, like, for instance, when it comes to the Supreme Court, they have lifetime tenure, and that's supposed to insulate them from political pressure. So in theory,
No, they want to keep their job is what they want. So it's not a pressure from, well, it is.
I'm telling you what the Constitution
I know,
states.
to get away from pressure of
That's
the
why
political
that
pressure.
position does not have, they're not like.
But they also want to do the right thing by the people and the Constitution. And
Correct.
because if they don't, they can lose their position.
No. You
Yeah.
need to check that fact.
I'll double check, but they
No.
have to follow the law.
Well, yes.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, there's supposed to be, like, that's one of those things. Like, we have some of these rules that have been in place for eons and eons.
Yeah.
And this is one of those where I think they're in the process of leaning towards changing some of these things because, so for instance, you know, we, even in the state of Indiana, July 1, we had a slew of laws that changed or went into effect. And one of those was driving.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got that now in play where now you can, I think you can day 16
Get your license.
get your license. And
There's some prerequisites, but
right. I'm not claiming facts because I have
no
not led
like
that.
waiting period now.
Right. So we've changed that. But in theory, a lot of places, from my understanding, of course, I took driver's ed a hot minute ago, but I don't feel like
Kentucky, it used to be 18 at one point.
But I mean, like, we don't have a point.
Oh, for old.
Yeah,
for,
like
for
standard.
elderly.
I don't think that's as.
No, you just have to be able to see.
Yeah, like you just have
That's
to
it.
pass your, when you go, you know, and like each time you go and renew your license, I think that gets further and further out. So I think what we're seeing, yeah, like exactly, like a cutoff age. I
Yeah.
don't think
There isn't.
a limit where they say, hey, no, you're too old, like you need to stop
Mm-mm.
driving. I think a lot of times more so it's families. It's families that are making that call. Like, hey, Gramps, listen.
Yeah, my family has made that call.
Right.
My grandma is
Right,
not allowed
like,
to drive anymore.
Yeah, like we have the same thing. Like my grandma doesn't drive either,
No.
and I think you know, well, she had some vision problems and things like that, and it just wasn't safe anymore. But I think
Yeah, because we're decent human beings, and our family we were raised to be decent human beings, and
see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Like,
96 years old.
like-
but if they have the cognitive ability, that's different. But there are people in their
No.
50s who shouldn't be driving because they've lost their cognitive ability to drive, plain and simple. And we don't test for that.
I don't think
just
we
like
do-
just
yeah,
like we
like-
don't test for, you know, a 90-year-old being the president of the United States.
I'm just saying. I'm just thinking. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I have a feeling that
I think there's gonna be.
you're going to see a lot of lobbyists out there that are going to be pushing
think-
to
yeah, I think
put in a
this is-
law.
And what's interesting is I don't think this is really mainstream news right now.
Mhm.
And I think that I'm just interested to watch that one.
Yeah.
I think that one's going to be
I
interesting.
honestly think it'll come down to a law that is put in place on a state-by-state basis that requires probably starting at 65, that there is some sort of testing that they will have to do for individuals to earn your privilege to drive.
I think that's a stretch,
Nope,
but I think
I don't
do
think so.
I mean, I'm not going to say that this case is the one case
No,
that's going to
no, but
like,
I see
push
it.
all of this.
I
But
definitely see it
think-
happening in the future.
I think there's going to be more of this kind of thing, and that's going to, I mean, like you look in Indiana, like I said, July 1, we just had a ton of law that changed.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see more law changes in regard to state law across the board, you know. But finally, which I think is probably the most exciting segment that we have in tonight's episode, comes from Iowa. And this is a case let me see if I can get this right. So
It's quite old.
it is. It's from 1975. And actually, a fisherman in the Mississippi River north of Clinton County, Iowa, discovered a body on April 11th of 1975. Initially, it was believed by investigators to be an unidentified African-American girl between the ages of 12 and 23. And the autopsy determined the cause of death to be homicide. She had been shot in the head. Known for decades in Iowa case files as Jane Doe, 1975, she was the longest unidentified Jane Doe case in the state. And she has been identified. Her name was Cheryl Edwards. She was born in 1959 in San Diego, California. She was living in, I'm probably not going to say it right, Waukegan, Illinois, at the time of her disappearance in 1975. And actually, she was 15 at the time of her death. Mm-hmm. And what's even more tragic about that was she was approximately 10 weeks pregnant at the time of her death, which is just like one of those things where she, first of all, was 15.
15 in 1975 and pregnant.
Yeah. Like, so.
There wasn't a whole lot of options.
No.
And
sadly, I think that could. Interesting. It says that she was identified through forensic genetic genealogy, matching crime scene DNA against public genealogical databases to trace the family lineage.
Yeah, your 23andMe that you all did. Guess what?
Solving cases.
The government knows about all of that.
Identifications made through the partnership between the Iowa Department of Public Safety, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the DNA Doe Project. In October of 2025, a team of 16 volunteer investigative genetic genealogists from 3 countries worked the case during the DNA Doe Project's annual gathering in Texas. And they traced her family to Louisiana, then to Kenosha, Wisconsin area, before confirming her identity and San Diego birth record. The identification was announced publicly in a Clinton County Sheriff's Office media release June of 2026. While this case is not fully solved, only the victim's identity has been confirmed, the homicide itself, who shot Cheryl Edwards, that remains unsolved. And investigators say they're continuing to search for her killer, and they refer to this as identified or named, not solved or closed. So I thought that was probably one of the most important things to discuss in today's. I just thought that was very fascinating.
Hi, Demi.
That they have,
Come here.
That was closure. And hello, welcome our dog who thinks she needs to be.
This is our hound dog that sniffs out all our cases.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As she's surprised she hasn't jumped up on somebody's lap yet.
No, she wants to come here. Demi.
She's sniffing. But, yeah, she's our mascot. She's kind of lazy. She just likes to sleep a lot. Yep, see? She's and lick people. Like that's her.
Say hi. Oh, look at my. All right, that's enough of that.
Well, that pretty much at this point, that's all that I actually was going to talk about tonight. If you can believe it, I think I am at.
It only took us an hour.
And
14 minutes.
14 minutes, and I think given that we
14 minutes was like an introduction.
Yeah, I agree.
Which
so
we'll do
I feel like,
nearly every time. But
I feel like that was a good, solid conversation time. Like
yeah.
I hope it was informative.
We'd like to get more people involved in the chat
so
that we could talk. We can talk about anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, we have a little rundown of what we want to talk about, but we can be on here this is our job.
Yes.
This is what we do now.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
And we would absolutely love to get more people involved in it. I think that personally, the live video, the Q&A kind of thing is more fun when there's more people involved, obviously, and, sharing, getting that information out and having people ask questions and communicate with each other, because I feel like, you can learn so much from people.
And we may be different. We may be the only ones out there, but we question everything.
Yeah.
You know, and we have those questions and we want those answers. And anytime we get a place where we can ask those questions and have that forum, that's what we enjoy doing because, you know, we went to CrimeCon in Las Vegas.
And I do actually, now that you say that, I do think that we should cover, so maybe this Wednesday or this Friday, because we're, like I said, we're planning to do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And again, we need some feedback. That's what I need. Like, do we like TikTok? Do we want to do like a YouTube live? Do we think, you know, Facebook is better for live?
Again, TikTok is going to be pretty primitive these first few episodes.
We need feedback. And that's where we're hoping to get to, because we're kind of wanting, you know, what's your thought? Do you want to hear about our experience at CrimeCon? Do you want to hear kind of what was CrimeCon like? Do you want to hear more about what is law school like? Maybe you want to hear more about what we're working on with the podcast. Like that's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping to bridge the gap between, you know, because we've been those people that have watched lives, that have, you know, watched some of this stuff unfold, and we're like, why don't they answer me? Why don't they look at my question? Why does it feel like I'm just screaming into a void? Like, we post a poll on Facebook. Yes. See, that's how I am. I love all the things. I'm on all the platforms, and I feel like
you have to be a little bit of a dork to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the technical side, I legitimately had everything set up. Like, I thought TikTok was going to let me have all this stuff and do this like how I wanted, kind of like I do with my live stream, my goals TikTok live stream with my workouts. And then I get to a certain point and I go to load it up and it said, oh, never mind. You can't do this until you have so many live streams. Well, this is only our second live stream with Casewalker Chronicles. So with that being said, it's like, yeah, you're restricted to only doing this until you get other benefits. So
so we're really trying to push that, because I feel like I said, the more people we get involved. Sorry, I have a bug bite and it's I need to put more hydrocortisone cream on it. We do. We want to go, like I said, we want to go every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we need to kind of know a time. Like Monday, I am not available until after 8 p.m. So that's why, but you know, like Nick does a lot of the lives on his TikTok for his fitness brand, and he's been doing that trial and error thing with trying to figure out the
all
right
different times of the day.
Yeah,
you know.
So that's what we're trying to do here, because we want to get maximum participation. We want, and I think, again, what do the people want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
I feel like getting okay, ask the questions, because sometimes I feel like, you know, you ask questions and nobody answers, or you don't know where to look or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, we can't give you legal advice, but we can give you our lived advice, and we can kind of help guide you or offer, you know, like, hey, maybe it's a private investigator question. Maybe that's what you have a question about. Maybe it's what do private investigators do? Because there's a big misconception.
Yeah.
The biggest misconception ever is that when, first of all, most of the people think that Nick is the investigator, which he actually falls under my license. See? And then
Amy, we'll send you a my case link that you can look at.
Well, she's wanting, she uses my case, but
for Illinois, yeah, all states have a different.
Yeah, they're all different, and some charge.
Yeah,
some charge. But what I was saying, I think I brain farted there for a minute.
Hi, Haley.
Oh yeah, with private investigation, everybody either thinks that Nick is the one that's the private investigator, and I do his clerical stuff, which whatever. And the second thing, they're like, well, do you find cheating spouses? Okay, listen. Private investigators do more than just find cheating spouses, okay? There's a whole, thing. If you want to know if you need a private investigator in the state of Indiana, Money trail investigations. You can look. I
It
have a
could
whole
literally,
website.
it could literally be anything.
Anything. Public records research, like all the things. We've started the new July series, so we're doing different little like Casewalker's doing for the record, money trail investigations. We are on Facebook and we have the website, but we push stuff out. Like, what do investigators do? Because that was one of those things we thought the lives Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be good for. Kind of getting. Instead of me saying, hey, yeah, here's this graphic, look at it.
Yeah.
It's a way that we can break it down, discuss some of it with you.
We want to give resources. We just don't know what you want.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work well for us to push stuff out. And I see like 2 people viewed it and I'm like, well, that took me 2 hours. So that was great. Like, so that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a feel for what the temperature is and where things are and be guided in a way that is helpful. Again, I had over 10 years in public education, so education is one of my things I'm very passionate about. I want to educate and help, so that's kind of where we're going. But again, the sharing of things, even if it's just telling people, we do have stickers too. We have stickers, but getting the word out is extremely hard.
We're finding that out, which we knew. We knew that was going to be the case starting this. And
yeah, but we don't fit the general mold.
No, we don't. We don't fit the true crime podcast mold, which is fine. I don't want to fit the mold.
Yeah, I don't want to fit the mold either, but it's hard because people give you, like right now, like,
and I'm sure for those people that are doing the true crime shtick that
I hate that word.
It's the same way. They're having the same, I don't want to call them issues. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
And we know that we have to continue doing what we're doing and continue being vocal, continue showing a online presence. We know that we have to do those things, and that's what we're here for. So some things are going to get a little monotonous at times.
Yeah, just bear with us.
But we promise that we will continue to work on finding new content, and it's going to be, when Money Trail Investigation really gets going, content is going to be really cool. It's going to be something that we'll be able to share kind of an inside look.
I never can say this right. General.
What?
We'll be able to share within the confines of the confidentiality. So we'll be able to give you like general things.
Right. And whether or not a client is willing to share information.
Yeah.
Because that will be, a precursor to us taking a case is, we also have this, and you are 100% within your right to say, absolutely not. Nope. I want all this to be completely private. Don't say anything. Absolutely. We respect that 100%. But as part of the business that we're running, one of the things that we want to be able to put out there are those investigations that we cover. And if, a client were to say, absolutely, no problem, then that would be also something we could look into doing.
Yeah, I think the long-term goal in a lot of ways is that the PI firm will help fund, so to speak, some of the pro bono work that we do. So it's pushing for the advocacy and the answers and being able to do some of those things, and that's what the goal is, the hope, the long term. But at this point, we are literally at an hour and 24 minutes in for episode 1. So hopefully maybe they get shorter, but not too short.
But we have a plug to put in at the end. Well, at least I want to put in at the end. Just know that doing these records checks, investigations, records lookups, requests, all of that takes time. Sometimes it takes money to do these filings. A lot of times we have to pay to get something filed, and we always are willing to accept donations because all of that is going to be put towards ultimately finding missing persons, because most of the time missing persons is pro bono work. 90% of the time it's pro bono work. And if you look at the missing persons just in the state of Indiana for this year, you will be surprised. I believe you'd be surprised to see how many missing people there are just in the state of Indiana. And we want to help. One of the purpose we feel like we have is to bring that closure to families, whether it be just closure. You know, if someone is found, at least they get that closure. If someone is found alive or deceased.
Yeah, because I
couldn't imagine my daughter going missing or my son.
When there's no,
couldn't imagine it.
When you don't know where that person is, I think for me, I would look for them everywhere. Like, you get up and you go about your day, you would see their face in the crowds of people that you pass. And I think that has to be the hardest thing ever for some of these people to live that. And so I think that she's smelling. I think finding and doing what we can for that resolution is it's just something we're very passionate about. And the podcast, the PI firm, all of that ultimately will fuel the final, So my thing is, we have a lot of avenues, a lot of things, a lot of fires that we're burning. We literally, if you want that deep, in-depth case coverage, you can always. Also, Casewalker is working on kind of a spin-off series where it's the Casewalker Chronicles Untold. So if you know of a case that you feel didn't get a lot of, we talked about some very large named cases tonight. Part of why we do what we do is to get those lesser named cases out there, keep those names public. If you have a case that you feel like has happened locally, or one from another place that you feel like it didn't get the pressure, the media, the attention, the news that it should, you can submit that to us. You can go either to the Casewalker Chronicles on Facebook. You can also go to the website. You can look up Money Trail Investigations. Right now, all Money Trail has is the Facebook. But again, pushing out as much as you can, getting that reach so that we can get those.
Your site's down?
Huh?
Your site's down? Money Trail?
That's the only thing I have. Well, yeah.
The website.
Yeah, but I don't have Instagram or TikTok or anything
right,
like that.
right. But you have moneytrailinvestigations.com.
I have the website.
Okay.
But we do have a submission on there so that you can, put those submissions through. And we will do the legwork. We will find out the information. All you got to do is submit the case. But that's Untold. We are working on that. And, Nick's got his fitness brand, so he has that avenue that he's working as well. And then we've got, Money Trail. So there's a lot of things working. We're trying to get all things working to help. We have some cases that we're working on that are very, very hard to cover. And so we have to... I have to do them in snippets because it's hard to go down some of those paths. So again, we're trying to keep things moving forward. It may seem at times we might go silent, so that's what this is for. We're hoping to keep this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, quick, short. If there's something you would like us, if there's a topic that you think that you would like us to cover,
reach out.
Yeah, send us a message. Send us... I think I'll have to double check. I don't want to send you the wrong one, but I think it's on Like, I think it's on like our Spotify link. It might even be on our link tree. So I will double check because
I think you have a Patreon on CasewalkerChronicles.com.
I do. Like I have to remember again. I have a lot of hats, and I got to find out where I put what because I know that it's out there. That's why I have to do my notes so I remember first of all what I'm doing. But anything that you can think of, if there's a topic or an area that you think might be interesting for us to talk about, like tonight we talked about flock cameras.
Mm-hmm.
If there's somebody, like if Nick can figure this out, because again, I don't do technology, he's going to figure this out. If there's somebody that you think would benefit from hearing this, tag them, send the video to them.
Yeah, I'll be able to download. Should be able to, in the live center of TikTok, be able to download this, edit it in CapCut, and then upload it to.
So be watching for
YouTube.
that. And we will continue to, I think, let's see, today's the 6th.
Yes.
Yeah, so we will be back on Wednesday.
The 8th.
And hopefully let us know. Maybe I do that. Maybe I do the call to action is where do you want to see us live? Do you want to see us TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube?
Yeah, I like TikTok. I do want to ask for the viewers out there. So this is the first time I've ever done a landscape view of the camera for TikTok versus portrait view. And I guess I could look on my phone on TikTok and see how that comes through, but
I can't because my phone's.
Are you able to turn your phone and it be like the full screen? I'm not sure.
Give us your feedback. Again, guidance, all the things. Let us know what you want to see. This has been an interesting evening. I'm wearing thin. I had practice tonight from 6 to 8. Amy knows what that's about. And it is now 10:49, and I was still supposed to go get vegetables from my dad's house. So, yeah, send me all the things. Let me know where we need to go from here, what you think, what you like, what works. Talk to your friends. Share. Ask them. What do you think? What platform do you want us to do? Maybe we do like Monday is TikTok, Wednesday is YouTube, Friday is Facebook. I don't know. Maybe that's the path we take. We will go wherever you feel we need to go. Give us your guidance, because it's all about getting that information out. I think I like to talk, obviously. So, and if you haven't already, check out the Casewalker Chronicles podcast. Start at episode 1. And go in order 1 through, there's actually 11 episodes, but it's 1, 2, 3A, 3B, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you go all the way through. We cover several different cases, and we do it a little bit different. So don't be going into it thinking that it's going to be the normal storytelling version of cases.
And just to show you how weird of type of people we are, you noticed the episodes were labeled 1, 2, 3A, 3B, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? 3, yeah. Lacey hates the number 3, and subliminally in her mind, she made sure, and she doesn't realize this, that she made a 3A and a 3B so that there wouldn't be a standalone number 3 as an episode of our podcast because she hates the number 3. We could have easily made it, 11 episodes and just went sequential.
It is 11 episodes. It is 11 episodes.
I'm telling you,
really
she had no idea. This is her OCD that took over in her mind.
No, it was part A and
said,
part
this
B.
is completely logical why I'm doing this, and I am never even going to think for a second.
It was the follow-up. It was supposed to be 2 parts because I was waiting
but
I was waiting for records requests to come back, and once I got I didn't get the records back.
I know why there was a 3A and 3B.
But whatever. You could say what you want to say. Like I didn't do it that way. I don't like the number 3. I don't like odd numbers. But
see, we had 3 Delphi episodes, but they were labeled
6, 7, 8.
6, 7, 8.
Actually, no, they weren't. They
Or
were
7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9, and 10 was the gap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
don't get me sidetracked. See,
we
look,
didn't
you're
have
messing
a
with my brain.
7A, 7B, 7C because 7 is a great number and it can stand alone on its own.
No, you need 3 7. Or well, I was gonna say 3
Yeah,
7s. That's
but
still not right either. But no, it was part 1,
the
part
number
2, part
3,
3.
the number 3 could not stand alone on its own because Lacey hates the number 3. Just
That
saying.
is not. That is not true. That is false.
I thought we only talked about facts on this show.
Well, you are giving false facts. So, sir, that is on you. It's supposed to be no speculation, which I guess this whole entire thing was kind of speculation in a way. Maybe. I don't know. I don't.
What, this episode? No,
Yeah.
we were just giving information. We didn't speculate on,
You speculated a little.
what, that you don't like the number 3? That is an absolute fact. Oh, and that we had a Stu Pedasso case that we looked at. Incident. I mean, he was convicted of a DUI back in 2022. Hey, you probably shouldn't drive. You're 86 years old.
I think it's impressive. That part. Like,
Well, and the fact that he's a documented insider trader, but we won't go down that rabbit hole.
we're going to edit that out because you don't know that. We're not discussing it. We're not bringing that into it. But on that note, because we're at 1:37, Gavin, you popped in for a second, so I'm going to call you out, and then he's gone. The amount of people that pop in, Malia, we're just going to start,
just saying the names.
Say their names and see how long we can do it. They pop in while they're doing that quick scroll, and then they're gone. When you're in there in that quick scroll, just give it a share. Just one share.
They're not hearing you.
I know. They're just swiping.
They're not here anymore.
They're swiping.
The doom scroll.
All right. This one wants to go pee.
Yeah, the dog wants to go outside.
I got to try to track down vegetables.
Amy,
or something.
thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We love
you. Stayed here the entire time. We appreciate it. Give all of our love. And we will be back Wednesday on a platform. Watch the socials. We will push out what the topics will be.
I want to do at least a few more on TikTok so that we can get all of the features.
Okay, so probably this week it'll be TikTok. But
yeah. And I feel like we might get a little more activity through TikTok. YouTube is crappy going live.
I agree. But anyways.
Unless you're like uber popular or promoted by another
One
content
day.
creator.
One day.
All right. Well,
All right, everybody have a good week. We will see you Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. This has been the Casewalker Chronicles.
I'm Nick.
I'm Lacey. You don't remember what it's called? The Particulars.
Yeah, I remember.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
Mia, thanks for joining. We're leaving, though. Sorry. Bye-bye.